Hi friends, welcome to our channel Knowledge Factory UPSC. My name is Harishankar. In this lecture, we are going to discuss the third chapter of 6th standard NCERT, and the name of chapter is Motions of the Earth. It's a very simple topic and very simple chapter which the main contents which are dealing with is rotation, revolution, orbital plane, how the seasonal change occurs, etc. This is also very important in the concept of NCERT exams as well as UPSC and the PSC exams. So let's look into the chapter. As we know, the earth has two types of motions, namely rotation and the revolution. Rotation is the movement of the earth on its own axis. The movement of the earth around the sun is in a fixed path or the orbit, and which is known as revolution. The axis of the earth, which is an imaginary line that makes the angle of 66.5 degrees, which is an orbital plane. The plane that formed by the orbit is known as orbital plane. The earth receives light from the sun. Due to the spherical shape of the earth, we have only half of the portion of the earth is getting light, and at the same time the half of the portion of the earth which is remain night. The circle that divides the day from the night is known as circle of illumination. So this is the introduction of our chapter. Here we discuss what is rotation, what is revolution. What is known as rotation? It's a movement of the earth on its own axis. So what is revolution? As we said in the previous classes, that earth have its own axis, earth rotates its own, but also revolve around the sun, and the process of the earth in which revolve around the sun is known as revolution. So what is circle of illumination? Let's discuss what is the circle of illumination through this picture. Kindly focus on this picture. Here is the sun, and the sunlight falls directly on the one portion of the earth. The portion of the earth which the sunrise fall directly remains day, and other portion of the earth, that means the other side of the earth which sunrise does not get, remains night. And if we draw a imaginary line between the day and night, we can find the circle of illumination. So is it clear? It's a simple thing. There is also another graph on figure 3.1, which is also very important. We can focus on this picture. So when there is a plane of Earth's orbit, or on the center of the circle there is a plane of Earth's orbit, and there is an imaginary line or a perpendicular line is drawn on this picture, which is known as vertical line from the Earth's orbital plane. Okay, so in this 90 degree, or in between this 90 degree, if we draw an axis, that means, and we had discussed in the earlier chapter that earth have axis which is slanting is about 23.5 degree. So if we draw a line or an axis line from north pole to south pole, the angle in between the plane of earth orbit and the north pole is 66.5 degree, and this is known as orbital plane. Is that clear? So let's move to the next topic, that the second motion of the earth around the sun in its orbit is known as revolution. It takes about 365 and 1/4 day to revolve around the sun. We consider a year as consisting of 365 only, on ignoring that 6 hours in the sake of our convenience. The 6 hours saved every day is added to make another day which consists of 24 hours over a span of 4 years. Thus, the surplus day is added to the month of February. Thus, every 4 years, the February is of 29 days instead of 28 days. Such a year with 366 days is known as a leap year. Here is a question that is asked: find out when will be next leap year. At present, now in 2020, we can find a leap year which consists of 29 days in February. So what is the probability of next leap year? We had studied that the leap year will be on 4 years life of span. Okay, so next leap year will be on 2024. From the figure 3.3, it's clear that the Earth is going around in an elliptical orbit. Isn't it? When we observe this picture, we can find that it's not in a circular orbit, but in an elliptical orbit, that the Earth is revolving around the Sun. A year is usually divided into summer, winter, spring and autumn seasons, and the seasonal change due to the change in position of Earth around the Sun. It's a very basic concept that we have to know, that how this season occurs. Seasonal changes occur due to change in the position of the Earth around the Sun. That means due to the revolution of the Earth around the Sun, the seasonal changes take place in the Earth. Is that clear? Next, we are going to discuss how these seasonal changes occurs and what is known as summer solstice, what is winter solstice, what is equinox, and what are the difference between the equinox when the Earth rotates around the Sun. Like some simple basic facts, but they are very important for UPSC as well as NCERT exams. So we can go through that concept. On 21st June, as the picture on the left side of this figure, we can find that on 21st of June, notice that date, on the 21st of June, the northern hemisphere is tilted towards the Sun. Isn't it? The northern hemisphere is tilting towards the Sun, and the sun rays fall directly on the Tropic of Cancer. As we know, the Tropic of Cancer is above the equator. Isn't it? Tropic of Cancer is above the equator. So here the sun rays are falling above the Tropic of Cancer. As a result, the areas receives more heat. As a result, areas above the equator, that means areas above the Tropic of Cancer, receives more heat. The areas near the poles receive less heat in the rays of sun, as the rays of sun are slanting. But we can find that on the southern hemisphere, that means on the south poles, there is less sunrise is occurring due to the slanting position of the Earth. The North Pole is inclined towards the Sun, and the places beyond Arctic Circle experience continuous daylight for 6 months. We can find that Arctic Circle, or means the North Pole, the northernmost pole, is tilted towards the Sun. As a result, sunrays fall directly for a period of about 6 months continuously on this area, and there receives summer in northern hemisphere. It is summer that in the regions of north of equator, and the longest days and the shortest days of the nights at these places occur in 21st June. At the same time, in the southern hemisphere, all the conditions are reversed, and it's winter in the region there, and the nights are longer than days, and this position of the Earth is known as summer solstice. Okay, so it's very important concept, that is what is summer solstice, and the importance of the date of 21st June. So kindly note this. Next we are going to discuss what is winter solstice. So on the right side of this picture itself, we can find that what is winter solstice, and what are the differences that occurs from differences between the summer solstice to the winter solstice. So we can focus on this picture. On 22nd December, note that on 22nd December, the Tropic of Capricorn, that means the place which is below the equator, the Tropic of Capricorn receives direct rays of sun as the South Pole is tilted towards it. Isn't it? The South Pole is tilted towards the sun. As a result, the sun rays fall directly on the South Pole. So in the Tropic of Capricorn region, that means on the southern pole or the southern region below the equator, receives more heat as that we find on summer solstice. And as the sun's rays fall vertically on the Tropic of Capricorn, that means on the 23.5 degrees south, that we have studied on previous lectures. If you doesn't go through that lectures, kindly watch that videos. Then on the Tropic of Capricorn, that means on 23.5 degrees south, a large portion of the southern hemisphere gets light. We can find that on the third line, that means on the equator, below the equator region, there is Tropic of Capricorn, and this region receives a maximum amount of heat and light during this period. That means on winter solstice or the 22nd December, that time. And a large portion of the southern hemisphere gets light. Therefore, it's summer in the southern hemisphere with longer days and the shorter nights, and the reverse happens in the northern hemisphere, and this is known as, or this position of the earth is known as winter solstice. Okay, it's a very simple concept and very important concept which are that are discussed in this chapter, that is winter solstice and the summer solstice. So there are another two pictures, isn't it? The above the sun and below the sun. We can just focus what are these, that means what are the equinox on 23rd September. Okay, so let's look what is equinox. On 21st March and the September 23rd, direct rays of the sun falls on equator. At this position, neither of the poles is tilted towards the sun, and the whole earth experiences equal day and equal night. That is known as equinox. Okay, it's very simple. That means the whole earth receives equal night and equal days. This is known as equinox, and the equinox happens on 23rd September. On the 23rd September, it's autumn season in the northern hemisphere. Look this picture. In the northern hemisphere there is autumn, and in the southern hemisphere there is spring season. Okay. The opposite is the case on 21st March. The 21st March is on the topmost of this picture, and we can see what is on this picture. Okay, so the sun is below this picture and the earth is above. So on 21st March, the changes that happens is actually just opposite to the picture, opposite to the case that we have discussed earlier. That is, when the spring is in northern hemisphere, autumn is in southern hemisphere. Okay, it is just a spherical change which is happen, that's due to the revolution of the earth, nothing else. That means on the northern hemisphere there is spring, and the southern hemisphere there is autumn. Okay, we can just observe this picture once more. That means the changes or the seasonal changes which were happening from the summer solstice, that means on 21st June, and what are the changes in 21st June or in summer solstice? Summer in northern hemisphere and winter in southern hemisphere. After this, that means after the summer solstice of 21st June, after a period of 3 months, there is spring season, that there is equinox, that means September 23. And the change in September 23 is northern hemisphere experience autumn and the southern hemisphere experience spring. After a period of 3 months, there occurs 22nd December, that means winter solstice, and the change that occur in the winter solstice is winter in northern hemisphere and the summer in southern hemisphere. So after a period of 3 months, when we came to the March 21st, that means what are the changes that occurs in the equinox? Again, spring in northern hemisphere and spring in southern and autumn in southern hemisphere. Okay, these are the main concepts which we have to discuss in this chapter. So I hope you everyone understand this concept. These are very important. I am again saying that these are very important in the concept of NCERT exams as well as UPSC and the PSC exams. So kindly focus this chapter, read the NCERT text along seeing this video, so you can easily catch this. We are also conducting a WhatsApp group which we are providing the notes and other materials. So if you like that, just go through the description and we are writing our mobile number there, so you can contact us and join our WhatsApp group. I hope you enjoy my lecture. If you like this, like my video, subscribe my channel and share this video to your friends. Thank you.